Hey people, get ready to crush everyday IELTS and CELPIP tests for all modules and make your dreams come true. I'm your motivator and I'll be guiding you through the test prep videos. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or you'll be missing out on some serious preparation.
Section 1. You will hear a man registering for a local sports club. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 10. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 10.
Good morning, Harwood Sports Club. How can I help you today?
Oh, good morning. I'd like to, register as a new member, please. I spotted your leaflet in the library and it looked just the thing.
Brilliant. Yes, of course. We'd love to have you on board. I'll just need to take a few details from you to get you set up on our system, if that's all right. Could I start with your surname?
Yes, it's Whitfield. That's Whitfield.
Whitfield. Lovely. And your first name?
Daniel.
Daniel, right. And could I take your date of birth, please?
Yes, it's the 14th of March, 1991.
14th of March, 1991, got that. Now, I'll need your address as well. What's your road or street name?
It's Foxglove Lane. Number 8, Foxglove Lane.
Oh, Foxglove Lane, what a lovely name for a road. Is that here in Harwood itself?
That's right, yes, just off the high street actually.
Perfect. And do you happen to know your postcode?
Let me think. Yes, it's BN4, 7RP.
BN4, 7RP. Lovely, thank you. Now, we do like to note down what members do for work. It's just for our records, nothing official. What is it you do?
Sure, of course. I'm a PE teacher. At Harwood Secondary, actually, so not far from here at all.
Oh, how marvelous, a PE teacher joining a sports club. Hopefully we can keep you on your toes. Now, is there a particular sport or activity you're hoping to get involved in with us?
Well, mainly badminton, to be honest. I used to play quite a bit at university, but I've not had a decent court nearby since moving here, so I'm really keen to get back into it.
Brilliant, our badminton courts are very popular. We've got sessions most Tuesday and Thursday evenings. Now, in terms of membership, we offer 3 options: monthly, quarterly, and annual. The annual membership is by far the best value if you're planning to stay a while.
Yes, I think annual would suit me best. I'm definitely looking to settle in the area, so it makes sense.
Excellent choice. Annual it is then. Right, nearly done. I just need an emergency contact for our records. Usually a family member or close friend.
Yes, my sister. Her name is Ruth Whitfield.
Ruth Whitfield, got that. And do you have a contact number for her?
Oh, yes, her mobile is 07924 361 885.
07924 361 885, perfect. And could I take your own mobile number as well, so we can send across your welcome information and any club updates?
Of course. Mine's 07553 218740.
Wonderful. I think that's everything I need, Daniel. We'll get your membership card sorted and pop it in the post within about 3 to 4 working days. You're all set.
That's great, thank you ever so much. I'm really looking forward to getting started.
Lovely. Welcome to Harwood Sports Club. We hope to see you on the courts very soon.
That is the end of section 1. You now have some time to check your answers to section 1. Section 2. You will hear a hospital receptionist describing departments and services. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 20. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 20.
Good morning, and welcome to Greenfield General Hospital. My name is Sarah, and I'm one of the receptionists here at the main information desk. I'd like to take a few minutes to tell you about some of our key departments and services, so please listen carefully. Let's begin with the physiotherapy department, which is situated on the ground floor of the North Wing. The department is open Monday to Friday from 8 in the morning until 6 in the evening. On Saturdays, however, the department opens a little later at 9 o'clock in the morning and closes at 1 in the afternoon. If you've been referred to the cardiology department, you'll find it on the second floor of the East Wing. Simply take the main lift and follow the blue directional signs once you reach that floor. Many visitors ask about our minor injuries unit, which is located just inside the hospital's main entrance. The unit operates on a walk-in basis, so no appointment is needed. However, I should let you know that the average waiting time is currently around 1 hour, depending on how busy we are. For those attending the diabetes clinic, a quick but important reminder: please ensure you bring a recent blood test result to your first appointment. Your consultant will need to review this before your assessment can begin. Some patients arrive with only their GP referral letter, but please be aware that a blood test result is specifically required on that first visit. Our hospital cafe is on the ground floor, directly opposite the main reception desk. It is open from 7 in the morning until 8 in the evening. Hot drinks, including tea, coffee, and herbal teas, are provided free of charge for inpatients staying on the wards. Outpatients and visitors are of course very welcome to use the cafe, though standard prices will apply for them. I'm also pleased to announce that our new oncology unit officially opened just 3 months ago. The unit is equipped with state-of-the-art treatment facilities and is already receiving excellent feedback from both patients and staff. Now, I'd like to share a few specific updates about some of our other services. The audiology department is one of our busiest services, and I'm happy to confirm that appointments are now available on Sundays as well, which many of our patients find extremely convenient. Regarding our dermatology clinic, the team has recently expanded its services considerably and now offers a much wider range of treatments for skin conditions than it previously did. Our speech and language therapy service is also available here at Greenfield General. However, do be aware that the specialist only visits on certain days, at present, Tuesdays and Thursdays, so it is essential to call ahead and confirm availability before attending. Finally, please note that our pharmacy has recently moved to a new location. You'll now find it on the ground floor of the West Wing, rather than its previous position near the outpatients entrance. Simply follow the yellow signs from the main reception area. If you have any further questions about our departments or services, please don't hesitate to speak to one of us at the main desk. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you find everything you need today.
That is the end of Section 2. You now have some time to check your answers to Section 2. Section 3. You will hear a student and supervisor reviewing a case study on supply chain management. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 30. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 30.
Good afternoon, Dr. Evans. Sarah and I are ready to go through our case study on supply chain management for Global Link Logistics.
Good afternoon, both. I've had a chance to look at your draft. Let's start with the basics. What would you say was the central focus of your case study?
Well, we initially considered looking at supplier relationships, but we decided the most relevant angle was logistics network optimization. That's where Global Link had experienced the most significant problems.
Good. And what triggered those problems in the first place?
It was a natural disaster that affected several of their key suppliers in Southeast Asia. That caused a domino effect throughout their entire supply chain, leading to serious delays and financial losses.
Right. So how did the company respond initially? What was the first solution they put in place?
They introduced a digital tracking system across all their distribution centers. That came before anything else, before they renegotiated contracts or diversified their supplier base.
Good. And how quickly did they begin to see measurable results from that?
It took roughly 6 months before there were any clear improvements. Management had hoped for results within 2 or 3 months, but the integration was more complex than anticipated.
Interesting. Tom, in your view, what's the single most important finding to emerge from this case study?
I'd say it's the role of real-time data in decision-making. The company had the technology, but they weren't using live data to guide their choices. Once they did, their efficiency improved considerably.
Sarah, do you agree?
Largely yes, though I think the cost savings are also worth highlighting. But Tom's point about data is definitely the standout finding.
What about the conclusion? Is there anything you feel is missing?
We think the conclusion should include specific recommendations for small and medium enterprises. The case study focuses on a large multinational, but many readers may be working with much smaller organizations.
That's a very practical suggestion. Now, let's talk about the research process itself. How did the data collection phase go?
To be honest, it took much longer than we'd planned. We budgeted 3 weeks, but it ended up taking nearly 6. there was a lot of back and forth with the company's communications team.
And what about the financial impact of the changes Global Link made? Did you manage to quantify that fully?
Not completely. The data we have is promising, but the financial impact really needs more research before we can draw firm conclusions. We've flagged that as a limitation in the study.
Fair enough. What part of the entire project did you personally find most challenging?
Without doubt, interviewing the company managers. Getting access was difficult, and some were reluctant to discuss failures openly. That was the hardest part by far.
And finally, how cooperative was Global Link overall as a research subject?
Honestly, they were better than we expected. We anticipated more resistance given the sensitivity of the topic, but they were quite open, especially at the senior level.
That's reassuring. Overall, this is solid work. Polish the conclusion and address those financial limitations, and you'll have a strong final submission.
That is the end of Section 3. You now have some time to check your answers to Section 3. Section 4. You will hear university lecture on how languages evolve and eventually die out. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good morning, everyone. Today's lecture focuses on one of the most fascinating yet sobering areas of modern linguistics, the way languages evolve over centuries, and ultimately, why so many disappear entirely. You may be surprised to learn that of the approximately 7,000 languages spoken in the world today, linguists estimate that roughly half will cease to be actively used by the end of this century. The story of how a language lives and dies tells us a great deal about human history, culture, and identity. To understand language death, we first need to examine how languages evolve. The most fundamental mechanism is what linguists call sound change. Over generations, the way speakers produce individual sound shifts gradually, and what begins as a minor regional variation can, over centuries, transform a language almost beyond recognition. Consider how Latin evolved into the distinct Romance languages we recognize today, including French, Spanish, and Italian. A second driver of change is lexical borrowing, where a language absorbs vocabulary from neighboring tongues, typically through trade or conquest. English, for instance, absorbed thousands of Norman French words after 1066. Finally, there is the phenomenon of grammatical simplification. Languages in frequent contact with others often shed complex inflectional endings to ease communication across different speaker groups, and Old English lost most of its noun case system precisely in this way. So what causes a language to die? The primary factor is almost invariably a power imbalance between communities. When a dominant language offers greater economic opportunity or social prestige, speakers of minority languages tend to shift towards it, a process linguists term language shift. This shift is frequently accelerated by formal education systems that teach exclusively in the majority language, leaving children without any institutional support for their mother tongue. A third critical factor is the absence of a written tradition. Languages without an established writing system are particularly vulnerable, because literacy provides a means of preservation and cultural transmission that oral methods alone cannot guarantee. These three forces, power, education, and writing, very often operate in combination to hasten a language's decline. The scale of global language loss is genuinely alarming. Current estimates suggest that a language disappears somewhere in the world approximately every 2 weeks. Of the 7,000 languages currently documented, around 40% are now considered endangered, meaning they have fewer than 1,000 active speakers remaining. Some regions are particularly hard hit. The Pacific Islands contain an extraordinary concentration of linguistic diversity, with Papua New Guinea alone hosting over 800 distinct languages, yet this same region is experiencing some of the fastest rates of language shift as younger generations adopt English or talk Pisant for economic and educational purposes. Once the last fluent speaker of a language dies, an irreplaceable window into human cognition closes forever. Efforts to reverse language decline, known collectively as language revitalization, have met with varying degrees of success. The most celebrated example is Hebrew, which was revived from a largely ceremonial language in the 19th century to become the national tongue of Israel, today spoken natively by millions. Another notable case is Welsh, whose speaker numbers have stabilized at around 600,000, a figure largely attributable to government legislation mandating its use in schools and public services. Successful revitalization typically combines immersion schooling, the creation of digital resources, and community language nests, structured environments in which young children are surrounded exclusively by speakers of the endangered tongue. Linguists warn, however, that revitalization efforts consistently fail without sustained political commitment and genuine ownership by the communities themselves. In summary, language change is both natural and inevitable, but language death is not. Understanding the pressures that push communities away from their ancestral tongues is the essential first step towards meaningful preservation. As you move into your careers, whether in policy, education, or international development, you may well find yourselves in a position to make choices that either hasten or help halt this loss.
That is the end of Section 4. You now have some time to check your answers to Section 4. That is the end of the IELTS listening test. You now have some time to transfer your answers to the answer sheet.
Hey people, how was your test? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or you'll be missing out on some serious fun. See you tomorrow!